In the objectives for the MTA, Microsoft wants us to understand that when we hear the word domain account, that we're talking about a user account, a group account, a computer account that is kept on the domain. It is created here on the server, and so if we go to Server Manager, and then up to Tools, and Directory, Active Directory Users and Computers, here we can create groups, we can create computers and add them to our domain. Now, when I added these computers to the domain, that is to say when I joined the domain, it automatically made an entry here. But it's also possible for me to right-click and add these manually and add computers that I'm expecting to join to the domain, and that sort of sets them up. In fact, it is possible to set this so that you have to have made an account for that computer before they're allowed to join the domain. But that's beyond the scope of what we need for this class right now. But as far as domain accounts, there are a few things that I want to point out that they do. First of all, when we say a domain account, we're talking about an account that is specific to the domain that a particular domain controller runs. A user can log into a domain from anywhere on the network, from any PC. So unlike a local account where I can only log on to one local machine, here's I'm on client 1 right now, and here's Fred. And Fred is going to log into the domain, so he's logging into the DC1 server over here right now. And here is client 2, and Fred will log in here. So you can see it doesn't matter where Fred is on our network. He could be in the dining room somewhere, or he could be at his desk somewhere. It doesn't matter. A domain user can belong to one or more domain groups. So again, let's go back and take a look at our groups here on this computer. And as you can see, I have several groups, and earlier we made Fred a member of the Picnic Committee group. But you can see Fred is also a member of the domain users group. And let's give him a promotion. Let's make Fred a member of the domain admins group. Domain admins. There we go. Now when we apply permissions to to those three groups, depending on what permissions we assign and what conflicts with what, Fred may or may not have access. It can get rather complicated, and there are ways to look and see ultimately what access Fred has. Later on, we're going to be talking about built-in groups, and I just want you to see them now and make a note of the fact that they are here. So look at all of these double person icons over here. These are all groups that I didn't create. These are groups that were created for us automatically. And so we'll talk about those again in a little while. Not a lot to know about them, but I will talk a little bit about them in another video later on. One thing I want you to note is that the administrator is a user. Administrators is a group. Now in the case of a domain, we have domain admins and domain computers and so on. But on the case of a local machine, let's take a look at the users and groups on a local machine. You see that there is an administrators group, and under users, there's an administrator user. Don't confuse the two. Typically, of course, the administrator is a member of the administrators group, and that's what makes him an administrator. However, that's not necessarily the case. It's possible to take that administrator group away from the administrator and make him just like any other regular user.